Trying to tell if that's the rain outside or what that is. Welcome into the Pugs and Parker with E show here. We do this every Monday through Thursday. It's myself, Pugs Moran. It's him, James Parker, and it's him, E. There you go. The whole group is here. Excuse me. What's new, boys? All right, come on, chat room. Everybody gather in. Got a lot of stuff we got to get to tonight. We do this every Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. What's that, James?
Let's just get the bummer stuff out of the way. I just want to have like a sort of grown-up talk, and then we can do fun stuff after that.
What do you got bummer stuff? Why are you bringing bummer stuff? Okay, all right. You know what?
Real, and it's okay to bleed. And
okay, bummer stuff.
Yeah. Are we okay with that? Can we do bummer stuff real quick?
Well, are we all going to get to do bummer stuff? Because I don't know if we want to open the anal floodgates. He's got so much going on. You never know what kind of awful thing is going to pour out next. So let's just keep it confined to you, James. Yes, bummer stuff. Here we go.
Man, I'm sure my stuff's going to sound piddly to whatever Amel's got going on.
Why? It's your
because
stuff.
you're season 3 of Tulsa King.
No.
We're just waiting for it to come out.
You're season 3 of Tulsa King. Okay. I like it.
All right. So
I do have big ideas though. For it.
See, that sounds interesting.
I know, right? Don't you want to find out? You want to find his expansion plans for the legal weed empire that he's building up there. I just hope I can be a part of it. I got a feeling at some point I'm going to be living on a weed farm. Yeah. At some point, I just think that's going to be in my future. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be managing a bunch of migrant workers or what I'll be doing, but I see some sort of job like that in my future should this radio thing not take off. James?
Well, I also
why does the radio thing not have to take off for you to see that in your future?
Well, because I don't want to be like a field boss if I'm making, good money doing radio or something. I don't want to do both.
Who said you're going to be a field boss?
Well, I just imagine that. What, you're gonna have me out there in the fields? I'm no laborer. I've
got like 18 acres, dude. It's not like I'm gonna need all 18 acres.
All right, James had some bad news for us before we went down this rabbit hole. James,
we all remember my friend John Osterlin / Rebecca Pratt.
Sure, love John, loved Rebecca.
And there is a project that is ongoing since 2015, and we were together. For those of you who don't know, I started working at WRNO in New Orleans on the morning show in 2009.
The Rock of New Orleans?
It flipped to talk after that. Yeah. I mean, you hated it so much you auditioned for it, but that's cool.
Well, no, I didn't hate it. I just said Rock and Roll. It's a fairly well-known branded radio station in America.
Brand, and a lot of people are still saying me that we ruined that, and I can understand. I hate when brands are ruined like that. But I was paired with him on the afternoon show, on the PM Drive show, for a little over 3 years, and then we got canceled in 2015. And right then, he had saved up a bunch of money. He lived a very Spartan existence. He made a lot of money, but didn't have any hobbies or travel or have a girlfriend or anything to spend it on. So he just piled up a ton of money. And he's like, all right, man, this is it, Parker. I'm going to transition. I'm going to transition for real. I'm not going to stuff my bra anymore. I'm going to go get some hormones, going to get some implants, going to get the best wigs money can buy. And this is going to be great. And I got a friend of mine. We're going to split the cost here, and we're going to document all of this with a documentary. And so he had a film crew follow, or he was starting to be a she then. So she had a film crew following her around that was going to document this transition. Go.
Question. The friend that was contributing the money, was it his future lover?
Not at all. This was the guy who was a listener who had no idea about this other side of Osterlin. But when he was presented with it, he's a guy that's been very successful in the bar business in New Orleans.
James, can you give me 10 seconds? I've got to let the damn dog in or she's going to howl outside the closet. And I want to hear this story. It sounds fantastic. So hold on. Be right back.
Yeah, I think I can continue because he knows a big chunk of this. So the
he's getting this surgery scheduled.
Well,
he's got the money.
So this is the plan, and the cameras follow, and it's supposed to be this cool little kitschy story about a conservative right-wing talk host. And Rush Radio in New Orleans who has been living the secret life this whole time, and now he can't live a lie anymore, and he has to be his true self, and so now he's going to be. And it was supposed to document all that. However, when
what I missed.
you already know all this.
Not much.
Okay.
Yeah. So he finds out that when you go to the transition surgery, you interview doctors, and some of them are really weird. I've had all these conversations about someone who went through it. Some of them are willing to take you to the back room and cut you up immediately. And he's like, man, you get a weird vibe about those people. But most of the doctors say, listen, you have to live as a woman full time for an entire year before I will give you one hormone. And then after you do hormones, I'm going to monitor you every 3 months, all your vitals and all your stats and your A1C or whatever, because he's diabetic. And we're going to watch.
James, someone in the chat room, might be one of your peeps. James Stepani says, Osterland, I think he's showing up late to this conversation.
That's, you know him. That's vitamin D. You know him, vitamin D. Yeah.
Okay.
That's Dave. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, Osterland's a tranny, Dave. Didn't know if you knew that. You might just be finding out. So he liked that plan.
This is the problem with the internet. He's Dave. I know him as Vitamin D, and he goes by James. What is going on here? There are no rules anymore.
Dude, you don't want to go by your real name?
Solid point.
I agree. I agree 100%. Okay, James, continue. Let's not go there. I agree.
So then maybe a year, if the hormones are going perfect, maybe a year after that, you'll start the implants. And then bottom surgery is the doctors will admit almost nobody makes it to that point. There are a lot of guys who get the top surgery and don't get the bottom surgery, and they kind of consider that the best of both worlds. You have boobs and your mule.
Yeah, it seems like we've got a better way of peeing than they do.
It's an advantage, I would say.
Yes, that you think. I mean, when the rubber hits the road, okay, you've made the commitment to go through the transition. You've had the top surgery. You've been living as a woman, all that stuff. Your friends accept you. Maybe you got new friends, whatever. But now the rubber hits the road. It's time to decide about the second surgery.
Yeah.
Do you think ease of pee is a major player in the decision?
I do.
Okay, so not only have I had this conversation with Rebecca a lot, but Rebecca, especially when she's dressed as Rebecca and living as Rebecca, has other trans people that if you go to Rebecca's house, sometimes there'll just be another trans person there. And they are really thirsty to hang out with each other because there's so few of them and no one understands what they're going through. And just to have someone else to talk to about finding size 13 pumps.
Like people with depression. Whenever we find each other, we just sit and talk.
Yeah. and they're just happy that I treat them normal, right? And so the second they get comfortable around you, I start to know all the cool tranny sayings.
Oh,
there's some cool tranny sayings that you don't know about, and one of them that comes to mind is, when it comes to bottom surgery, if you're male to female, I mean, why? You really only need one hole. What do you need two for?
Well, is the new manufactured hole, is that going to have any sensation associated with it, or is it just sort of a dead
What
rubber?
do you mean? You got the same hole.
No, those are disasters. Those are absolutely disasters.
So James, you are saying that reconstructed transsexual vaginas, the vagina for a trans woman, you're saying that vagina is a trash can. I've never heard that, but I don't know anything about these things. I don't even know this Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner or whatever have it. What is so they're bad? That's the word on the street.
Go ahead. Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Well, from the trans community, that is a level of dedication that is rare even within the trans community.
It's a beautiful creation. I mean, I could see how it might be difficult to replicate because I think they're perfect.
I'm dying to know E's question.
Yeah.
Well, you made it sound as if they were adding a hole. They're not adding a hole. There's already a hole.
Well, yeah, when you remove...
there's no transition from not having a hole to having a hole. Like there's the equal amount of holes on whether you're a male or a female. No one's adding a hole.
I think they are, bro. Like if you're going
no,
and you chop off your junk and then they'll turn it inside out and make a a fake vagina, a vaginal cavity for him.
But there's already a hole existing in my junk. That's how the pee comes out the end, through that whole hole. There's a hole already.
Yeah, well, they'll
We're not adding a
shorten your
hole.
urethra considerably. Well, maybe not for you, but they'll shorten it a little bit. Oh,
Oh. I'm just,
hang on.
there's a hole and there's a hole. It's still a hole.
No, I only have one hole.
The pee comes out the hole.
Do you have 2 holes down there?
I have a hole. The fact that you've got like a bypass,
How does this guy have 4 houses?
Please leave me a message after the tone and I'll return your call. Thanks.
Hey, Dr. Schwartz, we're live on the stream. E has a question for you. Go, E.
My question is, are you adding a hole if you're going? Well, I know, not exactly.
All right, Schwartz, thanks. It's back.
No.
There you go.
Why?
Because we were chewing up his voicemail or whatever that is. I don't know. It was going on too long. All you needed to do is say, do you add or delete a hole? I thought you were going to hit that. Would have been funny. That would have been funny. But then you choked at the end. You were so close.
No, I'm not. Do you add or delete a hole?
That's all you had to ask him. That's all you had.
But you already have a hole, so it's kind of like you're just maybe creating a diversion, like a stream off one way and a stream off the other. But there was still the existing hole for the urine to come out.
I don't know, man. I have no idea about any of this. I really don't.
Aside from your urethra, they make another hole. They make a vaginal cavity, which is
but that's just like it's like a marina. It's like a dock. It's not going anywhere.
Well, he's like a melon baller.
It gets lubricated. It gets lubricated from the top hole.
Man, I don't know.
It's creating a deposit somewhere you can put the junk of the other person.
Let's just do this just for a second. All right.
What do you?
So we're working on this project. All right.
I protest this. I protest. I was going to join him in timeout. I was going to put myself on the penalty bench in protest to that, because he asked a good question. I just don't know anything about it, and it's obvious James has no clue how to answer it. So I don't know.
It's not germane to the damn point anyway.
But now I'm interested in it. That's what happens when you chase rabbits. See, we chased rabbits. We were undisciplined, and now the show is a wreck. James?
Oh, I can get it.
What?
Go ahead. Anything else?
I was trying to correct him. He said they were adding a hole.
They were adding a hole, and you were.
All right.
I
thought I just provided a really nice transition to something else, but we're going back to the hole. I thought we just got out of the mud.
No,
James?
not that hole.
James.
All right. So we're in the situation here where he dilly-dallied about starting the process, and then going through and choosing the doctor actually took months and months. And so here we are now, like a whole year later, and he's already had this camera crew following him around. And now he's got another year before he can even take a hormone pill. So what's he supposed to do with this movie project? Put it on hold, kinda? So he's like, you know what I'll do? I'll move to Vegas. And since I have to live as a woman anyway, let me go do this in Vegas, someplace where it's not only more accepted, it's damn near celebrated. And that'll give at least another setting for the movie. And, we're not going to film the whole time. And so it kind of got put on the shelf. So after living in Vegas and living as a woman, he says full time, but I'm really skeptical about how diligent he was about keeping up with that. But neither here nor there. There's a job offer back in New Orleans. So the hormones don't happen. He's in talks with the station. He can't show up with boobs or whatever. They want to hire John Osterland. They don't want to hire Rebecca Pratt. So he puts all that on pause. And so after a few months, they get the thing worked out. They get the schedule worked out, and they let a contract lapse. And the Walton and Johnson goes to our former station, WRNO, where they're at now. And John takes their place on Bayou 95.7 in New Orleans. And when I say John, I mean John. He goes back to being a dude. So this whole movie project was put on the shelf. recently, John was let go from Bayou, was in talks with WWL, the other talk station in New Orleans, about a show, and when that fell through, let's fire up the movie project again. So it got fired up, and he filmed a whole bunch of stuff.
All right, James, can I ask you to stop right here? Throw a flag. Tell me what date, what year, what are we talking? Where are we at right now?
Okay, so we started, the movie project started in 2015. 2016, starting the
Vegas.
transition process. He moves to Vegas. He comes back, I guess, 2017 or 2018. And since then, he's been on Bayou 95.7 for like the last 4 years or so. But last year, he got let go. And
2022.
yes, in 2022, he got let go. And that's when, between then and, because he died like the last week of the year. I think he might have died on Christmas alone. Between him getting let go and all that falling through and his passing away, he filmed a whole lot of new stuff for this documentary, which merged from, hey, this is my letting go where I was a conservative talk host, to me being a woman, into something much longer. And so now he was actually in the position where he was on a classic rock station and he was about to be doing a political talk show again. And that would have been amazing to do as a woman. And there's a whole bunch of stuff up in the air when he passed away. And so now the movie maker, he already had one cut that was done, and they were starting to shop it to film festivals. You want to go, E? Go ahead, E. I'm sorry.
No. I'm listening. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
I thought your hand was raised too.
Yeah,
It was earlier, but it was like 5 minutes ago. I forgot about
Okay.
it now.
And so the original investor, that guy that went in and put up a bunch of money, the guy that's sort of the director and editor of it now, this independent filmmaker guy who's, I've seen some of his other work, and these guys are so cool. Like, these guys that do it just for the passion of it, and they haven't really had anything big, and now they're like our age, and so they're
like
really
indie rock guys. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, they're very cool.
So he's done some really cool stuff with this, but he's coming back this weekend, and he's going to sit down with me for a couple hours. And this project has changed. Now it's turned into a tragedy. Now it's sort of we're telling the story of what happened to our friend that died at 55, with all of this torment and, complexity going around him. It's a hell of a story, but now it just got really sad. And I want to do this because it's the right thing to do, but this is not going to be an enjoyable process on Saturday, this little sit-down interview on camera. And I don't know. I hope I don't come out looking like a puss, or I hope I don't come out looking disrespectful or hateful, or, I don't know. I don't know. This.
You wanna address James?
Well, I think the thing that you said earlier was he transitioned to top part female, bottom part still male, waiting to take the hormones. Is that right?
No. No, it's the order is live as a woman first, transvestite first. We've lost that term, but it's very useful. Transvestite first, hormone second, then top surgery, and then almost no one does the bottom surgery, but that's when you even have the conversation about the bottom surgery. And no, Dave, Osterlin did not kill himself. Osterlin died of complications of diabetes. I was his closest friend at the time, and when me and Sonny cleaned out his apartment, 2 of his prescription bottles were completely full. So not only did he not keep up with his medication, I mean, some of it he entirely neglected.
Was he type 1 diabetic?
No, he ate himself into type 2 diabetes later in life. And that was the start of some of his health troubles. In fact, that was one of the interruptions in the making of the movie. He ate himself into a diabetic coma because he didn't know he was diabetic, because his pancreas stopped working in his 40s or whatever. So he ate himself into a sugar coma once. He had blood sugar of like 700. They had to call an ambulance.
So he never went through 1, 2, or 3 steps, meaning like he never took the hormones, he never had the top surgery, and he never had the bottom surgery. So I don't even think you could say honestly at this point that he was in transition.
Well, he did. She did. I mean, she was on with us every Wednesday for
Right,
a period of
and
time.
you don't have
She was identified as being a
Right, but he's
transition.
just a cross dresser.
right, and that's the softest form of the T in the LGBT. The person who hasn't actually put a scalpel to their body or a hormone in their endocrine system or whatever. These are the people that make up the overwhelming majority of that community. But
But those are cross dressers.
yes, those are cross dressers. Absolutely.
That's not somebody that's a female. That's a dude that wants to get in chicks'
Yeah,
clothing.
yeah, that is part of the fetish. That is that there are straight men who get off on the idea of wearing women's clothing
Right.
because it's not.
But then if he
Yeah.
wants to have sex with a
Then
man,
he crosses into
okay,
homosexuality.
he's not a woman. He's gay. He's a gay man.
Yeah, so he was still into women, so that doesn't apply to John/Rebecca. But
Yeah, he went out on a gay date once, and then the next night he did our show and told us all about it. Didn't go well. He was not. Yeah, he was into women, so he was a trans lesbian.
Well, he's a dude that liked to cross dress.
Yes.
I think trans lesbian, or you going cross?
I don't call that. I don't even call that.
Well, if his commitment was to eventually live as a woman and become Rebecca Pratt, then give him the credit of calling him a trans lesbian because he wants to be treated as a woman when they transition, but in women.
So the only
a
difference
lesbian.
between all of
Lesbian
us,
woman.
but the only difference then between all of us is he decided he'd get in a dress and put on some shoes and dress like a chick and be happy with that. That would then be the only difference between us and him would be just putting on a costume.
Well, but-
and somehow then we'd be
No,
trans
no,
lesbians.
no, but
Come on, dude. We're dudes
Right.
that are gay. Or we're dudes that are cross dressing, or we're dudes that are gay if we're wanting to get a wiener in the back end.
right, but there was also the compulsion. He felt the need, he felt the desire to get implants, and if left to his own devices, meaning if he didn't think it would negatively impact his relationships with his friends, what little family he had left, and his most importantly his career, he would have done it long ago. If there was not a societal stigma attached to it, if there were examples of other people who had done this and didn't have any negative consequences to it, he would have done it long ago. And he also recognizes this is the weird part, that something's wrong with him. That something like I am not comfortable with my body, and I know that's not right. And I don't know what it's like to not be comfortable with my body. I look down and I'm like, that's not attractive or whatever, but I don't want to cut it off. Right? I don't want to mutilate. I don't look down and be like, oh, I wish I was something else. I'm happy to be a dude.
You can think a lot of things until you go through it. I don't think you can check the box of, oh, yes, I'm this. I just think you think a lot.
Well, some people
You
can check
know.
a box. I mean, I hit so many of the stereotypical check boxes on straight white Christian male from rural flyover America, dude. You can stereotype the hell out of me, and you'd be right about 90% of the time, right? Check box me, buddy.
Amel too. You can look at Amel, his slightly shabbily dressed, but it's all like $100 hats and $200 t-shirts slobbily. So you can make all the extrapolations you need based on that, and probably get a pretty close to James as far as checking the boxes.
Now, however, Rebecca, far more complex than me. Far more webs and far more tangents and complexities and layers. There's not a whole lot of layers. I am happy, I'm healthy, I'm stable, but I'm really shallow. I mean, the pool doesn't go very deep on me. You can want to know what's going on in my head? Just 90% of the day, just boobs, 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 beer and boobs, food, football, boobs, food, football, boobs.
Simple man. He's proud of it. He got no apologies to make.
If you're as a human, right? If you're as a human choosing to keep the plumbing of the opposite gender that you're saying that you are, you're in a different space than anybody. You can't say you're
So
in the
wait a second.
space
So
of
what
the.
you're stuck on is you're stuck on the choice that people who are transitioning make not to have the bottom surgery, especially when it's male to female, when it's a trans woman. Okay,
Either
but then
side.
didn't James say that that's incredibly rare? The bottom surgery, the genitalia surgery, is extremely rare among all trans.
And that's my point. You're sitting here existing as a different type of human. You're in your mind, you're saying you're this person, but your plumbing is a different type of plumbing. So it's not even the same thought process when you go to the bathroom or when you're about to have sex. You're there's nobody that exists like you other than people that are like you. And so to call yourself the other gender that you're not even made the journey to
I'm lost.
is
I don't know where we're going now. You were
well,
rolling. I apologize, but I lost you about, I don't know, 50 yards
all
back.
I'm saying is it's comfortable, I guess, to say you're trans woman if you like to cross dress. But you can't even figure out what it is to be a woman because you still have the male part. So to tell me, well, mentally you're a woman. No, you're not. There's no woman that knows how to navigate a penis from the inside.
Well, if that's how you
You're
define it,
navigating a penis from the
so that
inside.
would be one of your main criteria of whether or not you're a woman, knowledge of navigating penis. Because I think they would push back and say, I don't define myself.
Do you know what it feels like to be a vagina
Not a,
during
not a
sex?
chance.
No,
Absolutely not.
no. You're guessing.
Yeah.
So when
Thought
you're
about it.
saying, "Hey, I'm a mind and I possess this other part and therefore I'm capable of knowing what it's like to be the other person." No, you don't. No, you can't.
Right,
You
but
don't have the same
they
parts.
feel the compulsion, because there's both a push and a pull. There is a desire to be a woman, but there's also a rejection of being a man. And for some of the people, because I got to talk to a nice little carousel of I think I met probably 8 trans people through Rebecca. A lot of I only met one that was female to male, and she talked about more that she didn't want to be a female, more so than she necessarily wanted to be a male. She did not want to be a female. And the funny part is, of all the trans guys I met, the desire was to be a female. And so it's being a guy was always, sort of the just the default choice. The prize at the front window was whether or not you're going to be a female. And so to trans women or trans men, women transitioning to men, they were rejecting being a female. A lot, from what I hear, usually at some point in their life, they've had some sort of traumatic experience, usually sexual, that says, you know what, if this is, if my femininity caused me this traumatic experience, then I reject it, kind of. And it's not that simple for the opposite, for men who want to be women. Right?
And I have no problem. You just, I guess, call yourself whatever you want to call yourself is kind of where we've gotten to. And so I'm not going to throw a stake in the sand at one particular point or the other, but at some point, there's going to be so many variations. You can't even keep track. I don't even know all the letters, what they mean anymore in LGBTQA, XYZ, CDF, XY. I mean, that's how long it could be by the time we're done.
Yeah, I agree. Now the here's the gut wrenching part is, have y'all ever worked on a project where you have to talk about a dead friend of yours? Because in my entire life, this is probably, aside from my grandmother dying, this is the closest person to me that's passed away. I had a cousin die in childhood too. That might push him into third. But you ever done anything like this? This is going to be kind of a gut wrenching 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I had a very good friend a couple of years ago named Gary who had a bad reaction to a surgery and went to the bathroom while waiting to get. He had complications from surgery. They sent him home. He a couple hours later had to go back to the emergency room. He's in the emergency room. They're making him wait. He goes into the bathroom. He feels immensely sick and he has a massive heart attack while in the bathroom and lays there for hours. He was left with severe brain damage. He was a complete vegetable. This was like a gallbladder surgery. This was like a routine kind of we're going to release you the same day kind of surgery. And he lived as a vegetable. He didn't live as a vegetable. He lived as a 2-year-old for the better part of a year. I used to have to go visit him. No, I didn't have to. I did. I visited him every day, and I used to sit there, and I used to wheelchair him around, and then he died, and we had to put together this party for him. Now, he was a musician. I don't want to go into it, but yes, I've recently gone through something.
What am I in for, dude? Tell me. This is exactly why I'm asking you. What am I in for? Like,
well, have
gonna
you had
cry
that
on
experience
camera?
with a friend? Have you had that experience with a friend? I told you about Gary, right? My music studio buddy who owned the music studio and then just dropped dead. Have you ever had an experience like that recently in your life? We got to help James out here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality of it is you just go in and be honest. You know, tell them how you feel. Tell them
No stories, no personal stories about friend. No, Fat Tony didn't get shanked in the commissary and it broke your heart. You know, nothing. No good stories from your past. You always have good stories. You can't tell me everybody got.
I mean, I have several. You know, unfortunately, I have several friends. You know that have passed in some crazy ways. I could see there being questions about, you know, or a movie done or something about some of their passing.
James, we'll try and help here, but what are your concerns? Tell us your primary concern.
Well, my primary concern is sort of this ethereal concept of John / Rebecca speaking through me from the grave, because there's a lot of conversations that we had that no one else knows about and that people have questions about and then I have answers for. And am I going to say it correctly? Am I going to say it in a way that will be interpreted the way that he would want it to be interpreted? Is it going to be edited in a way that changes the meaning into a way that dishonors his memory or what he would want people to think? Yeah, E?
All right. So I think part of the process for you is to not feel like you're being interviewed live and everybody's listening, and what you say during that interview you can't alter if you've had time to think about what you said as it rolls through your head and go, hey, that may not have come out right. And I think that's the grace that you are afforded in these types of scenarios when somebody is passed and they're trying to piece together what that is. I mean, I think a good example of is the way that we started with this 105.3 thing. I mean, there were 20 or 30 people that we interviewed that all had their own different perspective and their own little story. And I think as long as they got off or they interviewed with us and they were true to themselves and true to what their opinion was at the time of how things were, I mean, I think you could walk off and be comfortable with what you said. And I think that's where you are. You know, you're going to have a different perspective than another guy that worked with them because you worked with them for a number of years in a particular setting. Pugs and I are not going to have the same opinion about everybody that we work together with.
All right.
We might think.
You want me to go again, or you got some, Pugs?
Yeah, I got so yeah. Okay, so it's a unique situation because this is going to be put on film. This is something that is going to be saved for posterity, right? It will be etched in stone, as they say. So as far as that goes, you can't control. I mean, they're not going to give you final cut. You know, you're not going to get that, but you can record it yourself. You can record the entire thing as well and have the actual conversation should you need it, should that, and you may be able to do something with that. Now that's an aside. What are you going to say about him? All right. So this is the more personal thing. You can't be taken out of context, can't be edited out of context if what you are saying about him is 100% how you feel about it. I know that sounds overly simplified, but if you're being asked questions about him, I mean, now, do we have an internal conflict where maybe you don't want your real feelings about this man you obviously loved and cared about to be made public? Because that's a you thing and you're gonna have to work on that. But you can't be misquoted and you can't be made to look bad if you honestly just speak about him through your lens, through your filter.
All right, some other ethical questions then. if there are people who came up, and just as an example, not that I want everyone to sully the good name, but you remember Fisher? You remember Jim Fisher?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
the program director at.
Yeah. He's the just
Arno.
fake it guy. He's the guy who told me just fake it.
So John Osterlin hated him,
With good reason.
but in public, never said anything bad about him. It's your program director. If you're,
Of course.
if you're a quarterback that's bad mouthing your coach, you look like an asshole. And plus, you don't want the rest of the other people at the other radio stations to see that you're just some a-hole that complains about management, because you want the other management to hire you. And he was smart to do so, because management over at Intercom/Odyssey picked him up as soon as he was let go from WRNO. Well, after 2 years. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't run around bad mouthing people. But now that he's gone, now that there's no negative consequences to him, to his real opinion being known, I don't think he would mind if the world knew that he hated Jim Fisher. However, bad mouthing other people in the radio business does not help me. So I have my personal self-interest in these interviews. Do I want to be the asshole that burns bridges with other and not Jim Fisher? He doesn't matter because he's not in the business anymore. That's why I used him as an example. But you know, if some
I
of
was
these
going to say you would work for it, but professionally, you would work for Jim Fisher again if he offered you a job.
well, look, if it was $1 million to do the morning show in Dallas on 97.1,
He
sure.
tortured you. You were miserable. You quit to get away from him. And you okay?
Oh
you
no,
needed a
I
break.
outlasted him.
You guys were on a break.
I outlasted him. I'm fine.
All right. I thought you quit to get away from him, but okay. All right.
No, dude. He's out of the business. He got ran out. You can only be so corrupt. But we know where the line is, and he's over it. So that says a lot. But anyway, so there's some things where there's some that I could say, but it's not good for me. But it's the truth, and he wouldn't mind people knowing it. So what do I do in that situation? Do I start burning other bridges and torching names and just dealing with the consequences because, you know, the legacy of my buddy is more important than my future career opportunities?
There you go. That's the question. Stop. That's it. That's the entire answer. That you got your answer. That's a tough one for you.
As the elder statesman of the show of Pillow Talk, what do you say?
See, I think you should not bring the program director into it if you're looking to stay out of it. Because bringing the program director into it is something that you're doing. So you're going to be then involved. So if you're trying to stay kind of in the peripheral and that's the way he lived his life, I don't think there's any reason to share that secret, because those people were not in his inner circle. And this is not an interview for the inner circle. This is an interview for the outer public. And to the outer public, why are you going to come in and change what has been the legacy if you're not looking at, hey, shine the light on me because I'm the guy that knows. Nobody else did.
Right. And that's the kind of feeling like, am I just torching people to get more attention for me and exploiting the story so I can, you know, vent my, I don't know.
Well, it seems that you're putting yourself in a place where it could be looked at that way.
No, that's wisdom. Pugs, what do you say?
I told you, you just got to figure out answer that question. I stand by my original one. You need to ask yourself: would you rather get one last punch for him in a way that you think might make him chuckle or whatever? You're taking a couple of people down, or is your future career more important? That's a deep moral question. Ask yourself next time you move your bowels.
Okay, because
think on it. Is my point.
I have thought about it. So here's where I'm at, and this sounds. Maybe this is naive too, but my career sucks. So what am I really risking here? And he would love it if he knew I torched these people. And if there's any chance that he's watching from the great beyond or the upside down or whatever the hell, dude, he would get a huge fucking kick out of it. These people that are going to get torched totally deserve it. It would make the storyline better. It would make the movie more interesting and more likely to be picked up and have the story be heard in the first place.
Let them promote. Make sure they promote your stream in the movie. This is what you're doing now, because you may not be looking to go back to radio.
Well,
blow it all up, James. Go for it. Feels good in the moment.
Take the Pugs 105.3 approach. I'm gonna blow this fucking place up.
Yes, Emil, that is the exact same parallel. It's kind of what, if we can burn all the bridges from Live 105.3 days and all the bridges from my New Orleans days, we'll never work in radio again.
No.
We'll just call it The Bridge, the show, The Bridge.
All right, speaking of The Bridge, can we move on? Can we move on? We did 40 minutes of your quick bummer subject.
Later.
40 minutes.
Go.
All right, so I wanted to bring a couple of things to our attention. We've been talking about the crazy, wacky houses that I see as I walk around the neighborhood here in beautiful Highland Park, Texas. The blue house. Do you remember the blue house from a couple of days ago? Big question. Does this house look good? So there was a lot of talk about the door, right? So I got a close-up of the door as I was walking the dog. So now close up, I think the door looks awesome, man. I think that looks great. It looks like a fancy desk from the Oval Office.
It's contemporary.
No, it's Art Deco, like Mad Men Art Deco, right?
The slats kind of make it a little Art Deco, but then there's definitely like that colonial Virginia, plantation house
going
look.
On? Yeah.
Man, I don't know all these words.
I think the door looks awesome, man. And I don't know, maybe that's a different door that we saw on the Google Maps. This might be the new, that door looks good. I don't know how it photographs from the street on Google Maps, but up close as I walk by it, I had to take the picture because I'm like, I wouldn't change a thing about that door. That door looks great.
I think the door should be red.
Okay. All right. Still going with the red. Hey, like I said, far be it from me to question E on these things.
I don't know. It looks unfinished. It's unfinished wood.
All right. Well, here is the other house that I believe. Nope, it's going to be that one. This is a house that I saw while walking the dog, and we were talking about crazy houses in the neighborhood, and the blue house came up, and I said, well, there's another house that's like this weird Polynesian village house, and it's got these Samoan warriors carved into the side of it, and it's right next to a normal beautiful Highland Park house, but yet here's one surrounded by palm trees. Right up, the only palm trees on the block. So it turns out, E, you want to tell us about the house? It's your boys.
Yeah, well, it's no longer. He sold it.
Oh, he did.
And he's moved out to Cedar Creek, but that was his mama's house way, 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 way back. And he's like this amazing dude. Like, we've been friends since like 85. And he's just like a hunter. He loves to go hunting. He hunts like, all over, like crazy, the world.
Okay, can you guys see my arrow? Can you see my arrow on the screen? Okay.
Yeah.
So do you see this right here where my arrow is? I'm making a nice little circle around it. Goes right here. And then on the other side, right here, here's another one. These are these carved warriors that I'm talking about. They're carved into the side of the house. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a Polynesian kind of grass tiki hut, for lack of an explanation. But like that whole thing where the carved tiki is, that's an addition that he did to what was this cottage house. And then he took and he ramped it up. In the backyard, it looks like if you've ever been to like a tropical like lagoon, like in Hawaii.
What is it? Is it 1,500 square feet? How big is this house?
It's not very big in the initial in the initial footprint, but it's how it meanders to the backyard, and then there's like an outdoor kind of covered area.
Okay.
A huge
They're
pool,
maximizing
and then like
what is a tiny house and making it really cool. Like we're crazy.
And then that addition up there, like think about that is like if you were to go to some very posh, high end, fancy contemporary hotel. That's the way it's decorated inside that top.
Okay, James, he did it again. He just threw out there like we all know what it's like at a fancy posh 5-star hotel. Just like everybody goes to those.
Yeah, I'm barely out of the motel phase of my life.
I know. A fancy hotel to me is one where the doors don't open up to the parking lot. Anything above that is fancy. No, we don't understand about your fancy, stupid hotels.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I just so anyway, yeah, it's a weird house.
I'm happy if they have soap, really.
Yeah.
I have a video of me driving a bike into the pool.
Oh, in that backyard?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, actually,
All right. Well,
a lot of them.
Cool.
that wraps up this edition of Around Town.
All right.
Me.
Well, no, it doesn't. I have an addition.
Oh, you do? Oh, good.
Yeah. So there's in the Interstate 10, the highway that goes from New Orleans to Slidell, like you're
Okay.
going to Mississippi.
Mhm.
There's only one town that's between New Orleans East and the Mississippi line. That's a town called Slidell. And when you're on your way, there's only one set of bridges that'll get it done. But right before you hit that body of water that actually separates New Orleans from Slidell on the North Shore, if you look to your right, there's just a smattering of fishing camps, and one of them looks like a castle. And everyone knows this. The area is called Irish Bayou. This is what it looks like from the street. On the other side of this house, if you go about 800, 600, 800 yards, I'm not real good at distance, but it's a good ways, is the interstate. So you see the back of this house. So you see this guy, and this is famous. Everyone knows it, that has ever gone from New Orleans to Slidell, because you look to the right and you're like, is that a freaking castle? That is so.
It is a castle. It's not. Is that? It is a castle.
It's a castle. But look, there's just like this is what you call a fishing camp. It's up on stilts because this area is going to flood probably 2 or 3 times a year, at least 6 feet. And on bad days, on bad storms, it'll flood 10 to 12 feet, right? So they stick this guy up. This guy is just built to flood. They just know the water's going to come all the way up to here every once in a while, and we'll just live with it. Top story is where we're going to put all the valuable stuff downstairs for,
Really?
parking the bikes and like the ping pong table and crap.
What about that guy? He's like, oh, I'm just happy I get floated out.
No, look, you got pier and beam. It's not going to float out so easily. You will lose this deck about every time it floods.
well.
But other than that, yeah.
Here we got a Wikipedia page. Fisherman's Castle, sometimes known as Irish Bayou Castle, is a 942 square foot castle built on Irish Bayou between New Orleans and Slidell, Louisiana. Simon Villemeret built the castle in the style of a 14th century chateau in 1981 in anticipation of the 1984 World's Fair, and it was strong enough to survive both hurricanes Katrina, Isaac, and Ida, although it required repairs following Katrina. Charles and Jean Cool bought the castle in 1995 and then sold it again in 2014. E, you interested? Seems like it changes hands pretty frequently.
Nah.
How about that for a podcast studio?
924 square feet.
Cool ass
It's a
podcast
vacation
studio.
home is what it is. See, no one lives there. These are fishing camps. This is where you go when you want to just take a weekend off or a week off and you want to go fishing or just tootle around on your boat or
But
go.
do you sleep in it? Do you sleep in the castle?
Yes. And that's what they call it.
I can tell you I got issues already with the castle being on the ground and the water being so close and me seeing those cattails and stuff like that. That is Snake Haven.
Dude, let me tell you something. We got shit like that. There's dudes in this neighborhood who built stuff like that in their backyard for their princess daughters. I mean, it looks like something you'd find in a backyard at Island Park. It really does. I mean,
well, but I'm saying,
have you seen some of those
like,
elaborate guest houses that just look
yeah.
ridiculous?
Yeah, I mean,
I can totally see a dad building something like this for his princess back there. 900. It's smaller than I thought. 924 square feet. That's
but I mean, just that whole slab. Why would you put a slab there when you know it's going to go underwater?
I don't know.
Well, because you're building a castle. You're not going to build a pier and beam castle.
Yeah.
I mean, build a moat.
All right.
It's kind of on a moat. Look, this is a really famous place, but there's a segment of New Orleans that has fishing camps, and I don't know I like fishing all right, but not so much that I would, spend $200,000 on a second property just so I have somewhere to go. But like this guy, my wife went to school with growing up. He lived 2 blocks down from us, Gabe, and he bought a fishing camp in Mississippi, just across on the other side of Slidell. You go out there and it's like a second house, and if you like fishing so much, you bought a second house. It sounds like something Emil would do.
Well, if it's a fishing camp, I think I would like it to be up high, not low.
Well, it is. See, the second story here is you got to assume that's where like the bedroom and the TV and all the expensive stuff is, because the bottom floor is built for flooding.
Why wouldn't you just build it like the neighbor and then put the? I don't
Because
know.
you can't have a castle on stilts.
Bothers me.
That's ridiculous.
It bothers me.
We got to stop. Okay.
It is on stilts. They just bricked around the stilts. It's the same thing.
The stilts are too short.
Okay. Okay, civil engineer now. All right, fine. Castle's not good enough for you. King Emil.
I would be a buyer if it was not so close to the water, with the ability for snakes to come in from the bottom.
Snakes.
Okay, so
snakes.
I'm glad you say that, because now my next question is, why don't you have a castle? Why? Because if I had your money, I would do some really dumb stuff like get a castle.
Nah, he doesn't have stuff. He doesn't have dumb stuff.
I don't have
I
castle
would.
money.
He doesn't have castle money. Yeah,
he's
got money. He doesn't have castle money.
No, not castle and Highland.
He doesn't have dumb stuff money.
Getting
either.
by.
He's gonna live another 40 years. He's got, he's got to maintain.
I got to hustle.
He's got to maintain this lifestyle. Look, the man has become accustomed to certain ways of living, and he's done the math, and he doesn't have cash.
I mean, today I was building a drum set. It was 2 days it took me to build a drum set for my kid.
Oh yeah,
like that's how
that's what you need.
Mechanical or electrical or whatever I am. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Civil drum set
So
right there.
You got the legit. I got the electric kind of kit one.
So we can wear headphones?
Well, headphones, and it'll come over the speaker.
Okay, well, put the headphones on.
Over the amplifier.
Put the headphones on. You don't need to be hearing that.
Well, actually, I wanted because he had a kit the other day, or another kit, and I didn't know how to hook up the amplifier. So when he would go and play, I would just see him doing a lot of hitting, and but you kind of hear a rhythm, but you don't hear drums. You just hear more like
you just hear
tapping.
the actual thing.
The tapping. You don't hear the drum. And so it took me like 2 days to get this thing. It should only took like 3 hours, but it's just and you know me, when I do it, I want it to be like right the whole way. So I finally got it plugged in yesterday, and I was doing the audition, and if you plug the wrong cable from this cable, like you can make the bass pedal sound like a drum, and a tom can sound like a bass if you plug in the wrong thing. It's weird. So like you can almost create like a Frankenstein drum set with things not doing what they're supposed to do, plugged into other parts of the drum. You mix match what comes out.
That would be super handy if you're the drummer for your Def Leppard.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, wow. So you could put all this stuff in a way and make it do things based on, it's almost like guys that drive cars that are handicapped have a different way to put it in drive, maybe, or a different way to make a right turn or a left turn, and stuff like that. And it was just fascinating to me last night watching that. I was like, wow, I was that stupid that I plugged it in this way, one. And then two, how it would immediately fix itself when I put it in the right position. Like I was like, oh, well, I plugged this wire way over here and it belonged way over there. And that I knew the sound was not the right sound coming out of the thing that I was hitting. That's how stupid I am.
Did your son stand over you hurling insults at you about how you can't do anything, like the time he told everyone that you're terrible at baseball? I'm like, hell is wrong with you? That's your dad.
He loves to tell people that I'm old.
Well, yeah, I know.
That's
That's what I mean.
yeah, and then we get into the conversation. Literally, it happens. I want to say once every two. It happened like on Monday, and he's like, "Dad, I'm like 11. You're 60. We only got like 10 years left." Like that's what he said. He goes, 70. He goes, it's 70. He goes, you're on the tail. Like, I'm like, really? Like I got 10. He goes, well, maybe 15.
Oh, maybe.
I
was
was
giving you.
So anyway, it's kind of funny when you
Hey,
hear
he sounded
that.
very
but, yeah.
mature and sort of like he was ready to handle it, like he'd already digested it. Well, we got 10 years, Pops. Let's make it count.
My point. It's all very cute. And, I love Dom. My point is, he is so insulting to you, like all the time. Like if there is an opportunity to belittle you, he's gonna take that shot. And I always look at him like, "What are you doing, man? You can't say that." The baseball one was just the most recent one, but there's other ones.
Yeah, he'll do
That's
it.
his thing.
He'll do
Let's
it.
push back.
That's his thing.
Knocking Dad down a few pegs.
He likes to he'll take a few shots when he gets. I guess it run. I mean, it's kind of acorn didn't fall from the tree.
Okay, I got nothing else. James, you got anything else? We are out of gas. This show was kind of just meandering, but that's okay. I think we had some connections.
Did you see what my fake name is today?
Your name is Connor Roy for president.
My rule on spoiler alerts is a fortnight.
Okay. So 2 weeks.
So
go ahead.
Yeah.
So I think we owe the audience in the chat room like at least kind of some, hey, what's going on with you guys? Like good news, bad news.
Okay, but James was in the middle of something. James was in the middle of explaining.
I thought we were getting
You are so high. You just barged right into that. You didn't even know James had introduced, or at least opened a door. He wanted to bring something up.
On his name on his chat room thing.
Yes. So you were satisfied when he said Fortnite? You didn't think anything else was coming out of James? You thought that was it?
No, I thought it was Fortnite. I don't know. I thought it was his Fortnite handle.
No, he's talking about the amount of time that a fortnight represents. So it's been 2 weeks since the conclusion of the television show Succession.
No. It hasn't. It will be on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So this is something that I want to address on Monday. But I do want to sort of chum the water a little bit and say I was very, very happy with the series finale of Succession. It's not the greatest show of all time.
Might be.
I look forward to even just having the discussion.
What's better? That's interesting. What's better? Because I think it might be. I haven't made my decision yet, but I haven't might be, and I'm glad that you love the finale because I love the finale as well. Tell me what is it in your mind competing with? Or why isn't it even? I don't even know if it ranks top 3 in you or whatever. For me, it's definitely top 3.
Look, it would have done better if I hadn't just seen the series finale of Better Call Saul about a week and a half ago, because that.
So you think Better Call Saul is a better series than Succession?
Yeah, I do.
I disagree with that. They're both brilliant,
but I think both of their series finale were both the same level of delicious.
Terrific, yeah.
As in, like,
great shows are great shows.
Yeah,
they're great shows for a reason. The writers are great.
And it's like the reverse M. Night Shyamalan, where, his whole bit is, wow, this was a crazy ending you never saw coming, like Game of Thrones. Like, who knew it would be the crippled kid? You thought for sure it would be Jon Snow this whole time. This one, just like Succession and Better Call Saul, was like, you knew how this was going to end. Like after the first episode, you knew how this was going to end all along.
Can I ask you just one thing though? Because you have seen the Succession finale.
No spoilers.
I won't. But okay. Did you see it coming? Did you see it coming? Because I made predictions.
Everybody, this was sort of everybody's default position, and the only reason you didn't is because it was so obvious that this is what's going to happen. Because that's probably what would happen in real life with these idiots.
No, man, you are rewriting history. That is not it at all.
Let's go.
That is not it at all, man. I
let's go
talked
down there.
endlessly about it. We talked about it in the moment. I can go back and listen to the tapes. I'll read the things that people were saying, what the Vegas odds were. We'll talk about it. It was good, though. I'm glad you liked it as well.
Yeah, I did. Catch up.
So Connor Roy for president.
Good night, everybody.
Look, one of the things about this, and this is as close to a spoiler as I feel comfortable going, is Connor's not even in the last episode. He doesn't have 1 second of screen time in the final.
I don't think I realized that. Ed didn't need him though. He was not. He was the forgotten one. He was the Tiffany Trump, right? except he was the first. You know, Tiffany Trump is the last one, and so she's kind of the one. Oh yeah, and the one I call not Ivana. You know, whatever it is.
That other one chick, yeah,
Ivanka.
The other one. So that was always kind of Connor, right? I mean, he was, although his firstborn son, Connor was really the firstborn son because that was the real first family, not the broke ass family with the woman that watched him struggle and build the company.
And plus, I'm just seeing Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off at age 60. This is where he would be.
He's right. Isn't that guy great? Isn't that guy awesome?
Yes. What a good actor, you know, because actors don't want to do that. You want to do the role where you're the alpha man that gets the girl in the end. You know, you don't want to be the flawed loser. Just nailed it. Freaking nailed it.
What is that guy's name?
Alan Rickman.
What is it?
Alan Ruckman?
Ruckman. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Alan Rickman is
I thought you said Alan Rickman. I'm like, no, I don't think that's it, but it's close. Yeah, Ruckman. All right, bye everybody.
Hey, Florida Stories podcast. It's doing well, but it would do better if you would actually check out the podcast. I know Emil hasn't listened to one episode, but you can be better than Emil. And wherever you already listen to podcasts, go check it out. Florida Stories.
Yeah, what do you got?
And after you listen to Florida Stories, listen to Florida Man.
Okay, there he goes. I can't do that. That's not something I'm willing to indulge. All right, see you tomorrow at noon, everybody. My voice. Ooh. Got a little thing going on. I'll be fine. You know me. I'll muscle through it. See you tomorrow at noon for High Noon. Headlines, hot topics, current events, all the day's news that's happening, everything about tomorrow that you need to know. I put it in a neat little package. Airs every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. It's called the High Noon Report with me, Pugs Moran. See you there tomorrow. High noon, Central Standard Time. Nope. No. What else did I want to say? Bye.